Yeah. So thank you all for being here at our ninth, correct? Yes, ninth for Feminist Border Arts Film Festival and Zine Fest. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. It's hot, the humidity. I've been blaming everything on the heat today. But thank you all for showing up. If you would help me in welcoming our director, Ryan Rocks, our producer, Jessica N. Jimenez, our star, Lucas Silver, and our other star, Nick Check. So before we open up for our live Q&A as the discussants, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Juan Ariza. I am an artist and professor here at NMSU with the Gender and Sexuality Studies program. Thanks. Yeah, I want to invoke my right as discussant to ask the first question. So I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And the one question that's really permanent or pertinent and in the back of my mind, especially seeing as it's International Pride, I want to ask the cast and crew up here, what do you think is the importance of telling stories like Hidden Flora and representing people like Roxii and all other sorts of members of the LGBTQIA community? Whoever wants to start us off.
Thank you. That's a great question. Um, I I feel like trans representation in television and film is so important because up until recently it didn't really exist, and not in a positive way at least. And when I think back to films that were popular that included trans characters, maybe in the 80s and before, I think of the most famous ones being The Silence of the Lambs and Dressed to Kill, where trans people are serial killers. So, and then you think of maybe the 90s and early 2000s, which was extremely problematic, where like Ace Ventura, where he finds out that she's trans, and he spends a good 5 minutes in this huge montage of him throwing up and using a plunger because he kissed a trans person. And so I think movies like this are important because we need trans representation made by trans people and that show positive things and joy and different sides of people and humanity. And I didn't have a movie like this growing up, and maybe if I did, I would have known who I was sooner. I didn't know who I was until, well, I still don't, but I didn't start discovering myself until the pandemic. And that's because of a TV show, RuPaul's Drag Race, who celebrates queer people and queer artists and lets them talk about their stories and their identities. And we need more like that. So I think that's why Hidden Flora is there. It's for 16-year-old Ryan that needed it back then, and the 16-year-old trans person that doesn't know they're trans but can watch this movie and might start to think about it a little earlier than I did.
Love that. Love that. I know you say that 16-year-old Ryan needed it. I just wanted to say that 28-year-old Ricky needed it. So yeah. Anyone else want to speak to that question? Especially as, filmmakers and, as creatives having many hats, right? Again, what is the importance of telling this kind of story or participating, even if you might not identify with someone like Roxii?
Um, I feel like it's important because we exist just like everybody else, and we get to tell our stories just like everyone else. And I feel like it makes you feel more included and not so out of place all the time. And you're like, maybe I'm weird because I feel this way. But if I had more movies and more things to see, I probably wouldn't have felt like that, because there's a million movies out there of like straight people and like people's fantasies and all this stuff, but there's nothing like this, and we need this. We need this a lot because it helps us feel like we're not alone, and it makes us feel loved and appreciated just like everybody else. So I think it's important. Oh.
How about you, Luca and Nick? Seeing as you two are the stars, the leads in the film.
Yeah. Um, I I definitely didn't know that this kind of movie existed when I was younger, and I definitely didn't know um, the full extent of, who I was when I was younger. And with the internet, you're just inundated with images all the time, and sometimes those images can confuse you, and sometimes those images can clarify for you, like who you are. And so, I don't know, seeing queer people and seeing trans people and seeing non-binary people in a narrative film like this, I think is especially cool because it's it's a world that you can go into on a movie screen that you can't go into anywhere else. And to see yourself there, I think you walk out of that movie, you walk out of that theater like taking what you've seen with you, everywhere else that you go. So um, for all the kids like me growing up that sort of resented maybe living in a small town, movies were a way to understand that the world was bigger than all of this. And I feel like I wouldn't have ever been myself if I hadn't ended up finding these kinds of images and seeing that that was a sort of person that you can even be, you know.
For me, microphone. As an actor approaching a role like this, it's something I've always told myself is such an honor to get to play someone. Not that every character's not walked the earth, but someone who truly has been here before and sometimes sadly is no longer with us. To really try and honor their spirit and their story and their life. So to get to bring that to screen, um, not only was it just incredibly what a gift, but also to share that story and know that so many people are going to see it, and hopefully, somebody that's going through those kind of circumstances, where they may feel shame or alone, they can see something like this and you're like, okay, I'm okay to be open and explore this and learn about this and love that part of me too. So it was an honor.
I love this theme I'm hearing, representation matters, right? Especially because it helps influence our imaginations. And as we all know, and if you didn't know, the secret is that your imagination influences the real world and reality, right? So thank y'all for participating and making this film. It really did need to be told. And aside from, 20-year-old Ricky needing it, I'm pretty sure many other folk who are going to see this movie need it and are going to love it as much as I do. Yeah. Yes, I think we can go ahead with our rest of our time. Let's go ahead and open up for Q&A. So if anyone in the audience has any questions that you would love to ask these amazing folks up here, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, I mean, sex is complicated and confusing and messy and fun and scary and awesome, but it's all of those things, right? And a lot of the times in movies, it's very beautiful and clean and elegant and everything's perfect. And when you think about it, some of those positions don't even actually, that's not actually how it works. And yeah, when you're filming a movie, you actually have to do really different things to get it to look that pretty, which is kind of problematic, right? Because kids watching might see that and think that's how it's going to be. And of course, it's not. And then they might think something's wrong with them and maybe like, oh, well, it doesn't feel like that for me, so this maybe I shouldn't do it at all. And so yeah, I chose to just go all out. In my other films, I had been vulnerable about different aspects of my life, and with this one, it was the final secrets that I had kept hidden for a while. And I said, you know, if I'm just gonna I think at the time I was going to be 30 and I said, I just want all the trauma out there and therapized through film. And so there's no secrets and I don't have any shame. And that meant being completely vulnerable in all of the messiness and the stuff that might be embarrassing so that other people can feel that and say, okay, I'm not alone. This stuff happens and it's going to be okay. Yeah. Is this off? Oh, okay. There's so many pop culture references in the film. I don't know if people caught them, but that's really cool if they did. But it's kind of a culmination of a lot of the things that I grew up with. There's nods to Call Me by Your Name and Requiem for a Dream and Young Royals, which is out now even and still inspiring me, and Heartbreakers. And of course, like I think my narration style was stemmed from Euphoria, and that I just always loved how that happened and is really vulnerable, and I love those stories. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, even. So a lot of people, Titanic, yes, so you can keep going. The list goes on and on, yes. Um, it's funny, people always say, oh, have you seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World? And I'm like, I actually haven't, but I think I need to, considering people keep telling me to watch it, including Luca. Yeah, I will see it, yes. Yeah, that house in particular, the idea of using it in that place and in the end was, I don't know if people notice, but there's a black crow. Yes, and as you're walking up and it's at the end of the house and the bird flies away. That is a symbolism for Freddie. It's like foreshadowing, and so. Roxy doesn't, after Freddie is no longer in the film, Roxy doesn't have any more piece of Freddie. And so I wanted to have them come back and live in the house in the future because that was their memory, their good memory of Freddie. And so they wanted to live that when they got to a place of happiness and still keep his memory alive. Everyone hear that? Okay. So Henry said that in movies they often choose a town. Maybe they come to film in Las Cruces, which we know as in the film industry that a lot of people just come and say, this is every town, desert, USA, and they don't talk about it being New Mexico or Las Cruces, and that sometimes they film Las Cruces, but they don't necessarily talk about it as specifically as I did with like the Nautilus house. And so why that's important to me. And yeah, the answer, I guess that's I was directed by Norman Detweiler here in town at the community theater, and he had a housewarming party and he had just bought that house and he was telling us all about it, and there was a really cool invitation that had a description about it, and he let us film there. And I thought, this is the coolest view in town. It's like the very edge of town and you could see the entire town and the Organ Mountains, and a lot of people just get that one shot over to like a stock footage shot coming over Deming or coming from the other way or just the Organ Mountains. So I thought this is a cool vantage point, and I want to talk about the Nautilus house because it is a big deal. Like you can Google it and read those facts that Freddie is like spitting. And yeah, I just wanted to make this film. I've filmed here before, but I've never necessarily called it Cruces. I filmed here and called it 70 Chicago. I filmed here and called it LA. I filmed in El Paso and called it Las Cruces. But this time I wanted to give homage and a love letter to my hometown and make it set in Las Cruces and film it in Las Cruces and show different sides of Las Cruces that people don't know and people haven't seen, and including the history of it, which includes the Nautilus house. You can look it up and all those facts are real. And I almost didn't shoot at White Sands because I said everybody shoots at White Sands. So that's everywhere. But I thought about it and I said, what if this movie goes to Australia and they've never seen that before and they see that and that is so cool. Like it's right in our backyard. Why not? So uh, I was glad we did. I'm glad we got to show off our beautiful city.
Think we're scheduled to close and finish at this time, but I think we have time for at least one more. I'll let you pick. Yeah, no.
Bardo helped me really a lot yesterday for free. So I'm going to let Bardo have the question. Go. I just like looked over and saw the three people that made this possible and the only reason this movie exists. And I just had a moment of like, this is very special to me. At Jeff's shoes. Um, no, literally I started writing this and then I was just putting in a voice memo on my phone and doing chapter by chapter. Said, I don't know if I can do this. And so I went to Jess and Nick and I read them the script for the first time. Actually, before that, I texted Luca because I said, "Hey, I have this project, and I'm not going to make it without you because I want to make it authentically with a queer person in the title role and someone that's closer to the age and can play those ages. And I don't know anyone that could do it better than you, and I don't really want to spend time finding anyone." So, well, I mean, it was it was like zero budget. The first week we filmed, and so I went. They said yes, and so then I went to Nick and Jess, and I read them the script, and Jess actually knew Freddie, and afterwards, I wasn't even thinking Nick would want to be in a movie this heavy or this queer. I don't know why. Like Nick has done shipping them and has been in every single one of our movies and been amazing. But I just my own insecurity, not anything to do with him. And he told me I need to be in this movie, and I said, "Who would you play?" And he said, "No, I need to be in this movie. I need to play Freddie." And he told me why, and um, it was just such a special moment. And I said to Jess too, like, I can't do, I'm not doing a movie without an intimacy coordinator. And I knew she had experience in that. And I had never had done a thing by myself. And I asked her if she'd produce, because she also had just produced a movie. And she said yes. And Nick agreed to be an executive producer as well. And without these three, this movie wouldn't exist. And I'm so grateful for all of you. And they allowed me, their support allowed me to be vulnerable and feel safe, and I couldn't have done it alone. So, yeah, I think that's how I did it.
That was great.
Bardo said it was for everyone.
Oh,
Is what the post-production process is like? Oh, yeah, well, I wrote the script in November 2022. And then I think right after Lucas said yes, I booked their flight, and that was like all the money I had. We were just gonna hang out in my house and shoot a feature film, which is with no money. And we pulled up Luca's costume or like Luca's clothes, and they flew with them, and that's part of the costumes now. And Jess and June and myself did costumes, and yeah, it was very DIY. And then with that shoot, we started to feel something like this is a more important movie that needs more attention and care given to it, and it's something bigger than we thought. And so we decided to not film the whole thing that week. And so we used what we filmed that week to make a trailer, and did a crowdfunding campaign. And I also submitted for grants, which I got a couple of, and I got a new job, which helped me afford uh, paying for it on my own. So it's a combination of those things that helped us go back and film 6 months later in July. So we did 7 days in February of 2023, 7 days in July. Wow, that was a year ago. So fast. And then July to March, me and my editor Elliot were just we'd meet once a week and just edit. And of course, there were other people that worked on it, like Paul did animations and was just doing that at the same time, and Andy did. Yes. And Andy was doing the score and choosing music for it, and um, yeah, it just all came together in March, and now this is our third showing, and we're submitting to film festivals, which now we're completely out of money, and we can't necessarily go to all of them, unfortunately. In a couple of weeks, it's going to be in New York, and we can't afford it. So I did want to mention, you all saw the film tonight for free. And if you happen to want to donate to our travel expenses, you can go to hiddenflora.com and maybe help at least me or Luca go to New York and see it in a couple weeks, or maybe a future festival that we don't have the funds to go to. Yeah.
I think.
But first of all, I wanted to thank your embassy coordinator. And, and to say, as obviously the eldest here, but with people of many, many generations and younger folks within much of the family, some of the things that
Matters, and especially because it leads to community, right? It leads to this feeling of not being alone, which is very, very important. Yeah, I think.
I'm sorry, I got caught up in the first part of your question, and I was like, it's because it's a Ryan Rox film. I'm coming on set, everything's gonna be great on. That's how it always is with Ryan. It's just like a very, like on the production side of things, it's a family setting. You know, we're not to make it sound like cheap, but we're all just friends hanging out, making a movie is what it felt like, and that's really, really rare as you go into the film industry, and the more you work into it, it's like, oh, but then you come onto a Ryan Rock set and you're like, okay, cool. We're hanging out, we're having a good time, we're making something incredible. And I'll let Luca answer the second part of the question because I didn't hear it.
Well, how it feels playing someone that's real and
Oh.
not necessarily a made up person.
Yeah, sorry. Um, I didn't know this person very well. Ryan gave me a lot of notes. Any question that I ever had, you know, like give me a song for inspiration that this character would listen to. Um, and then this is kind of like, ugh, but this is like actor approach. Is I analyzed it. My character had basically a 3-act arc, and so it was really just picking apart each one of those and seeing, you know, where is he meeting this person? How does that feel? Where is he falling in love with this person? Where is he finding, or rather losing himself in that final third act? And that kind of helped me come into it with just a little inspiration, but really it was just in moments where I'm sharing with Luca it's 100% that is the moment that we're in. But every time that they face away or something, I'm back to my own world. And that's where I really get to play into what I really thought the character was feeling at the time. And that shows a lot, I think, or I wanted it to show at least a lot in Act 3 of my character. Did that? Sorry, it's a very analytical approach, but
I asked Nick a lot about technical acting stuff because I'm not like trained at all, or I'm not, you know, in that world so much. So thank you so much for helping me through some of those scenes, especially like the car scene or that bedroom scene, like some of those more intimate. I don't know, the camera's going to be right in your face, and you got to sort of communicate what's going on inside, right? The first thing I thought when I got your text message about, hey, I've written this script and I don't want to do it if you're not in the lead, you know? The first thing I thought was panic. Second thing I thought was excitement. And then I actually read the script and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a great way to spend the year. Like, you know, even though it was like 2 weeks here, I mean, 1 week here, 1 week here, you know, it was like I stayed in that kind of world in between those 2 weeks, or at least I tried to, so that it wouldn't be completely two different halves, you know, for the different schedule. Other things that I did were I knew I didn't have like the technical know-how to be able to go like into character like that. And I also knew I didn't want to do an impression. Like, oh my God, that would have just melted me every single day. Like having to do that to your face. Oh my God. So I just tried to think about like the character and the emotion of it, and you sort of helping me break some scenes down a little bit. And then I really used psychological gesture to try to get there. And I really just found some postures and some sort of like movements and stuff that I felt just took me to the Roxy place, you know, the sort of space and mood that it felt like to sit in that body. So that's what I tried to do. And then each scene, I just sort of approached it as like, okay, what's the situation that I'm now in, you know, and just tried to sort of play it almost, I don't want to use the word improv, but it's sort of like, I don't know, just sort of trying to be in the moment as much as possible, not think about what I'm going to do on take 3 or take 4, you know, yeah, stuff like that.
I'll ask you, so like a lot of the technical stuff and all of that stuff that you went through, all of that happened pre-scene. But once action is said,
Yeah.
for me at least, all of that's gone. I'm
Yeah.
trying, I mean, you should live in the moment.
Totally.
Is that similar for you?
Yeah, and I think we had the dialogue down pretty easy.
Yeah.
And oh,
And that's
a
where
lot
like,
of
I don't, sorry, I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
where like the magic happens, that like the magic of acting.
Yeah.
Because you can do all this prep work, all this technical stuff, but once action happens, maybe adrenaline kicks in or something, and you, I don't know, like I've described it in the past as like you black out, but you're
Yep.
so like in, because you're invested in the moment. I don't know.
And then the scene's done, and you're kind of like, I hope they captured that because it felt nice. You know, it felt like what it was supposed to feel like.
Oh, like my
Yeah.
butt hitting the car horn.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, sort of doing the prep work beforehand and then sort of throwing it out, like when we're actually rolling on the camera, like leads to little beautiful little accidents like that that just make it so much more charming and better. And you go, oh, I did that, you know. I also wanted to say there was a shot during the river scene in the middle of the movie where it is outside of the window coming in, and then it goes all the way up to an eye and tear running down my cheek. And that was one of the hardest shots to do in the whole movie. That was like at 5 in the morning after a day of shooting. That camera move was pretty hard to execute, like it was going through a window up into a close-up. And I'll never, ever forget the feeling of finally nailing that last take. And I was feeling a tear run down my cheek. And I heard them call cut. And Ryan from across the room goes, how'd you feel about that one? And I said, I feel like there's a tear running down my cheek right now. Roll. And we rolled it immediately. Yeah. And just the cheer and like the volume that we got to at 5 in the morning after finishing that was like, it was so, I was ready to go again, you know? Yeah. So those kinds of feelings when you all are working together to just achieve something that's really hard and then you get it, like, yeah, that's what it was. That's what I'll take away from it, really. Yeah.
I started calling you Margot Robbie.
Yeah, yeah. Because Babylon.
I was like, what's naturalism? I didn't go to film school. I thought the opposite of surrealism. I really don't know. Someone tell me. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I think the irony of the aspects where it's very breaking the fourth wall and cutting away to animations and is just keeping it light and keeping it fun, because in shipping them my last film, we're going down a dark path. And so how do I take my audience on this path with me without triggering them, or at least giving them more of a roller coaster than just a pure down and then high, like a traditional kind of way of filmmaking. But also what ended up happening was our script was, I think, 71 pages or something. So we didn't think we really had a full, to what I think of a full length movie is like an hour and a half or something. So I thought, well, if you all want to improv, please do. And luckily I picked amazing actors that just really committed, and I wouldn't cut them. And honestly, I was watching today and thinking, did I write any of this Amy Winehouse scene? I don't think so. I don't think I did, Luca, right? Yeah. I don't think I wrote a single thing of the Amy Winehouse scene.
Oh yeah, no, that was all improvised.
And that was one take. And the whole, after Luca did that, everyone was like so silent. And we were just like, and Aaron, my DP, Aaron Walterside, uh, is luckily goes to the gym or works out a lot, because he was just like around the room following and holding the camera for whatever length that film is, like, or that scene. Period. Period. Shout out Aaron. He's he's bright red now. But I think also not only is that scene one of the most powerful, so I can't even take credit for it. That's all Luca and Walker. Um, but also one of my other favorite scenes is Roxy and Freddie in bed, and that was all improvised as well. And actually, I told Nick, can you write a song for Roxy as your character? And I have a little video of Nick showing it to me for the first time. And I was like, this is amazing. And then we said, let's not show Luca until on the day. So we'll get Luca's actual reaction. And so in the film, that's actually Luca's first time. And they did a good job at singing along the second time, because that was their first time hearing
The
it.
lyrics were easy to pick up.
I don't know. That's a bop.
All hand right there.
This is also going to be a statement, and less for you guys, less for everyone else. I was a production assistant on this film, and going off of what Nick and Lucas said, yes, a Ryan Fox production is magical. It was one of those things where I got coffee for people, I was drinking buddy, what was the number two? And I was Roxy's three one night stand. Oh, yeah. Every one of those shots.
With different shirts.
And yeah, no, it's just going off of that. Like again, it was one of those things where I want everyone in this room to know every single one of them are just amazing at what they do. Ryan is a wonderful director. She's just had such a keen eye. Jess, a wonderful producer. It's so great working with her. Luca, wonderful actor, just so great to be around, to talk with between takes. It was great. And Nick, one of the sweetest guys I've ever met. just like always brings that charisma every day to set. And yeah, just this camaraderie and chemistry that you're seeing right here. If you get a front row seat of it every single day on film, and it was a great experience. And again, all I was a production assistant, but Ryan wants to do another movie, and I hope I can be there in that production. I would do it in a heartbeat. It's wonderful, and they're wonderful, and I love them.
I love you.
Yeah, I think we'll do our last question now. Yeah, go ahead.
It's like, if I get this wrong, it could be the end of our friendship. It could be the end of our, like, I may never see this person again, and freak out or whatever. So, and I know everybody gets that feeling, whether it's straight or queer, of like, oh, does this person like me? But it feels so much different from an LGBT plus individual. Like, it's scary, you know? It's like, oh my goodness. And when you do find that connection and you do realize, wow, we do act like they do actually like me. And, you know, I thought that really pushed through in your guys' production. I just wanted to thank you guys. It was really magical.
Yeah. Thanks. Yep. Juan, I keep seeing your hand go up, so you're itching to ask. Yep.
Thank you. I wish I could hug you right now. Like afterwards, I owe you one. Yeah, it was extremely hard to be having a relationship in secret and then to find out he's gone forever. And I'm left with that burden of that secret and I can't tell anyone. And I had to grieve alone and publicly just say, oh, like, I'm sad because my friend died. And people are like, you seem really sad. It's just your friend. And I couldn't tell anyone. And some part of me is also sad for him because he never got to live his true self or at least explore it publicly. And that his parents will never completely know their son. And that's hard to carry alone. And it got too hard where I needed to make this film. I needed to write this story. And when we were out filming, and it was just me and Jess and Nick and Aaron at White Sands at sunset. And Nick did the scene in the clothes that he wears and in character. And we yelled cut, and I just went up to him and I asked, can I hug you? Because he was there at that moment, and he was there. There's no doubt in my mind he's here. And I'm so thankful for Nick for allowing me to use him as a vessel to hug him for the last time. And I feel peace with it now, and every time I see it, it makes me sad, but now it's a little weight off. And again, I'm really grateful to y'all for letting that happen, helping me get through that grief, and I'm sorry for your loss as well.
I'm gonna speak on it because the person that we're talking about, I've known that person since elementary school. I've known his whole family. He was prominent in my life, and when I found out that he was gone, it was it felt like a fever dream. Honestly, I was like, "Nah, you lying, you lying. There's no way." And I had to kind of just deal with that too by myself because I was like, I don't know how to handle this. I also don't handle death very well. That was back then. Now it's very different, and I'm very grateful for that. But realizing it, and when Ryan brought me the script and realizing who it was and all the information, it was very I was very overwhelmed. And I remember just crying really, really hard. And after she left, I even cried some more because I was just like, well, goddamn, that was a lot. You know what I mean? I didn't expect any of it, and it had been a few years, so it was a lot. And then that just knowing that connection again happened for us to meet and us to be friends and then us to make this, it was just, it was like, yo, that connection with the universe and stuff, that's crazy to me. You know what I mean? So I'm very grateful. And then to have Nick play somebody that was very important and that I just appreciated every moment that he made sure that he told the story the way he needed to. And thank you. I'm also a crybaby, so I'm sorry. It's just who I am. Thank you. I know that he's here and it's all good. And I hope that his family just knows at one point because they deserve to know how wonderful and every version of him was. So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful movie. I just, in closing, would like to do two things. The first is I would like to write or read what I wrote on Hidden Flora, which can be found in Program 10. I wrote that throughout it all, Ryan Rox's stirring electric debut remains one thing above all else, a stark reflection on the queer truths that can be found in anyone brave enough to look inside and keep looking. This now being my fourth time watching this film, I'd say I have the record and I want to brag about it for watching. But yeah, no, I stand by it. And I just want to say thank y'all for making this film. Like, yeah, it's beautiful, amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah. The second thing I would like to do is I know we have some, aside from up here on the panel, we have some other cast and crew in the audience. If you would either kindly stand up and make yourselves known so we can please. Thank you so much. And I imagine many folks still have questions that they're itching to ask Ryan and company. Yes, but if it's still happening.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay. I thought you were
go
leading
ahead.
me.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I just like would love to hug y'all and talk more and hang out. And it's somewhat early on a weekend. So if I would love to invite each and every one of you to join us at Little Toad to hang out, and there's free water. So even if you don't have money, come hang out and talk and chit chat. And everyone should go to the Film Festival tomorrow morning, 9 to 12. Lucasfilm What is Sex is showing. Yeah. Oh, you have. Oh, nice. So,
It is awesome. Yes.
and they're gonna have a panel for it as well.
Yep.
And it's weird, sexy shorts. So that block is gonna be dope. So go watch it.
Yeah.
And then at 12 is the Zine Fest. So lots more after today. Go keep supporting tomorrow. And I just want to say thank you to Ricky and Tay and Kerrigan, and especially Laura and Kat for having us and just treating us so well. And we really appreciate it. This was an amazing Southwest premiere, and what better place than our hometown? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, if you haven't signed the poster and you worked on it, please see Mia and myself after this. And get a picture in the front at the poster. Yeah. And it's on Letterboxd, so please review it on Letterboxd. And again, hiddenflora.com if you want to donate. And there's probably one more thing.
Vote, y'all. Vote for your favorite films. We have voting again either in your oh my gosh, what is it called? Program. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
Jeez. Programs, and if not, they are up front. But it's been an honor to hear your voices, hear your experiences. Ryan's making history, just being their amazing selves. But yeah, y'all, thank you so much for coming. We're good. Yeah. Have a good night, y'all. Bye.
Woo. Thank you, everyone.